more deterrence. We need more violence in the criminal justice system that will operate as a deterrent to stop people and make people think twice before they do engage in crime. Or we need to dramatically move in the opposite direction, where we focus on rehabilitation in an effort to lower recidivism rates, as other countries have successfully done. And we need to address the root causes in which crime manifests. And I think there is a crisis here born out of nihilism, born out of being a progressive champion for 25 plus years, as Cenk has been, where he is basically throughout time recognized that like no solutions are coming, no broad sweeping solutions that will tackle the issue exactly at the root cause. You know, fixing the housing market, adding additional social safety nets, after school programs and the like. So he's like, we have to stop the bleeding. And the only way to stop the bleeding is by being even more aggressive and being even more violent in our penalties. And that in and of itself is a terrifying prospect. That's when you cave to the reactionary in your mind, when you give in. And it's kind of terrifying. It's it's something that I've noticed, that we are at the we're at the precipice of Weimar Germany style governance here. We have like the hyper nationalist, hyper right wing Republican Party, and we have the liberals that are also caving on those fears that they very effectively communicate to. And not only is it, but those fears are also coming out of like, real societal problems. And, I fear that if there isn't a massive base that recognizes the problem and works actively to try and fix it, we're just going to keep bouldering towards fascism. I think he envies you and it's poisonous. You're ridiculous, dude. That's my uncle. He does not envy me. He is very proud and very happy for my success. That's crazy.
Douchebags are right. We
Can
need to protect every transposition, get free surgery. Even in China, even though we have nothing to do with China, we hate them. They're Nazis.
Okay.
I mean, I'm 100% right. Every dirtbag show did it.
You gotta calm
Every
down.
dirtbag show did it. Tell me I'm wrong.
This is reframing an issue that is now we've moved away from the electoral consequences of a trans ad to your own personal anger and frustration that you have with left-wing media online.
Look, the idiots are making everyone think they are the left. They're like, we're the left, we're the real left. Okay, we are super extreme. We want free surgeries for every criminal. Yes, we're the left. And Nazi.
Yeah, I just don't think that this is like, I think no one that was mentioned in this conversation has any real motion whatsoever in moving the needle. Like, no disrespect to anybody, Lance and the Serfs, Majority Report, myself, or the Young Turks. Like, even together, we have no motion. The most motion that Cenk ever had was with the Justice Democrats, right, alongside Kyle Kalinske, and that wasn't because of the massive audiences that they had. That was because they were actually, like the Working Families Party or the DSA in certain instances, like successfully moving the Democratic Party in the correct direction. That's what brought us the squad, right? And it came only because of, that progressive swing also happened because of Bernie Sanders too, which opened up the floodgates for that kind of communication. So yeah, Sunrise Movement too. And I think like getting lost in the minutia of online commentary stuff is silly. I don't know. It's just not good. It's not good. It's not smart. Do you think that America's culture of violence contributes to our crime issue in a memorable way? I just feel like our culture we grew up in America is different than Norway, for example. I think American culture contributes to it, but culture is just a reflection of the material realities. So I think it's historically speaking, American culture is developed off of American proto-capitalist sentiment early on with the Pilgrims, and has evolved into what it is now. This like incredibly violent aberration. So American culture was far more left during FDR and earlier. Yeah, on certain aspects, you're right. On like adjusted to its time, on economic improvements, yes. But obviously, socially speaking, fuck no. You know what I mean? Like, we had the Jim Crow South at that point. The New Deal also specifically carved out black people. Like, this is not, you know, this is pre-civil rights. We had internment camps for Japanese people. There were a lot of progressive policies that were implemented in terms of economic policies, but there was also a shit ton of regressive, a shit ton of reactionary policies that were also implemented for marginalized populations. And I don't think that it's appropriate to cast these people aside. I don't think it's appropriate to write them out. You know what I mean? So I disagree with that. Friend of the show on Friend of the Show Violence. Yeah, I have seen this, and I love Ested. And now that I'm one of the pod Johns, I feel conflicted here. You know what I mean? I love Ested. He's smart. And, you know, I always got his back. You know what I mean? I mean, he cooked here too. You okay? Have you not got enough credit for breaking the news that Joe Biden is old? You think you'd have more shame, but I understand that this is just like a game of Sims for you, he said. A good ad for the importance of independent media. I think Ested should go on the Pod Johns. I think the Pod Johns should have him on. I hate seeing my oomps fight, my Twitter oomps, you know? The girls are fighting, yeah. I grew up watching Jake in high school, and he was a major influence on me politically, but I became totally disillusioned in 2016 and disengaged until I found your commentary. It feels like I outgrew TYT. I mean, maybe. I think that these guys also think that, like, there is a real amount of, like, audience capture that, like, those who are on the hyper left, woke left, whatever the fuck you want to call it, people like myself engage in. Like, they can't comprehend that, like, I genuinely don't give a shit about trans people participating with cis people in athletic competition. Like, I just don't care. And not only do I not care, but I also understand exactly where that fucking anger and resentment comes from. And it's weird because, like, they also understand where that anger and resentment comes from. This is a deliberate mechanism to create a permission structure to shit on trans people. Like, yeah, so I'm not going to play along with that, you know? And I think every time you even have that conversation, whether in defense of it or whether you are there to, like, showcase how rational you are as opposed to these, like, crazies on the left or whatever, you're basically giving it more legitimacy. You're giving it more air. And I don't think that it's necessary, other than talk about how fucking silly and insidious and ridiculous these bills are, these anti-trans bills are, by pointing to the madness of it all. I think that in and of itself is a much more successful strategy, like, of deflection. And I don't know why. I just don't understand why people can't see it the way that I do. And it's my fault. I should be able to communicate this a little bit better than I have. And I don't think I've done a good enough job, you know? Granting a permission of persecution because some people don't like it. They said that for desegregation. Exactly. Every step of the way, there is going to be people that are you know, not going to agree with whatever progress that you want to implement, right? People don't like change. That much that's a stable thing, okay? People love stability and hate change. I think it's our job as progressives to communicate. It's our job as progressives to basically communicate why these things are, these attacks are silly, or why these things are not a bad thing at all, why these policy measures are not bad at all. If they are making it easier for people to be themselves in public, and it doesn't hurt a single fucking person. So it's very frustrating. People don't hate change, they fear change. Our job is to educate people so they don't fear. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think he gave in. I think he's grabbing onto what is left to grab onto in his view. He doesn't see help being given in his and everyone else's community. And I get it, to be honest. What? Do you think you could see yourself going even further beyond the Super Saiyan left? No. This is the maximum left position that I will be on board with. Who knows? It's understandable you didn't have the best answers considering his family. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there to, like, you know, rip him apart. I think one of my biggest I think going forward, if I'm going to debate people, I'm just going to, like, debate people that I hate instead of trying to have like a normal, polite conversation where I try to reason with them.